Hello folks, my name is Mark, this is Why I Hate the World, how you guys doing? So this is another video about white genocide and why I think it's bullshit. And so I made a video about it about a month ago and I got a lot of responses from people, the usual kind of white supremacist horse shit, people copying and pasting stupid crap, And but I got a response from a guy on a different video actually. And I'd like to read his responses here, because he basically lays out the argument for white genocide. And anyway, here it is. His name is Wicker Man with 2 N's. First comment. The truth is what got me here. The truth, whites are going to become a minority in the USA within 40 years. If trends continue, we will become minorities in the UK, France, Germany by the end of the century. This is evidence of treason by our leaders, as the government's sole existence is for the existence, preservation, and protection of the population. If they suppress the birth rate of the population who founded the country and import immigrants with high birth rates and do nothing but curtail them, all the while making us pay for it via welfare programs through taxation as our employment opportunities diminish and our wages stagnate, then I think it's safe to say America is in the process of collapsing. So I responded to him and basically asked him, which country on earth has the population of white people gone down? Because, like I said in my last video, in order for it to be genocide, people have to die. Okay, it's not, and this is what he responded with. Okay, in 17 states, more whites are dying than being born. Whites are no longer a majority, and the Democrats use minorities that all group up together to vote against interests of whites. See who pays the taxes in these countries. Hint, it's not anyone with brown skin. They receive more than they pay in. America, founded as a nation for white people, see First Act of Congress, are no longer going to have a majority vote. This will eventually happen in all countries. The vote will be handed to non-whites, and the character of the nation will change. Our countries are being handed to other people, and we will no longer have self-determination. Our fate is being handed to minorities who hate us. It's time for Western civilization to fall, and for white people to have a country of their own with a government that looks out for their interests. Okay, there's a lot to unpack in these 2 comments, so why don't we just start at the beginning. Whites are going to become a minority in the USA within 40 years. That's bullshit. In 40 years, basically the year 2050, there will be an equal number of white people to everybody else in the country. So what's going to happen is that if trends continue, right now, white people are roughly 67% of the population, 70%, somewhere around there. By 2050, they will be 50%, and the other 50% will be everybody else. After that, white people will still be the majority, but all of the other minorities together, there will be more of them than white people. So white people will be a plurality, and it's going to stay that way for some time to come, for at least another 100, 150 years, until they're finally a minority. Right. So that's really, he's saying that they're still going to be a minority. That's bullshit. They will be the majority for some time to come. Let's see. This is evidence of treason by our leaders, as the government's sole existence is for the existence, preservation, and protection of the population. Well, first off, how is the government not protecting the population? Right. By what? By not forcing white people to have sex? Is that what it is? First off, the government is not forcing people to not have sex. Okay. People are not having sex because in the United States we've hit 0 population growth. All right. That comes from a combination of factors, most of them being the economy, right? People are making lots of money. They have children later on in life. And the biggest contribution to that is that women are able to get an education and have careers in the United States. And that's the biggest factor of women, not having children, is that they're waiting because they're going to college. They're having careers. They don't, they want to make money, right? They want to actually do something else besides just stay at home and watch soap operas and fucking breastfeed all day, right? And that's why the population has kind of evened out, and we've had 0 population growth for a long time in this country, right? I mean, the same shit has happened in Japan. As these 17 states that he talks about, the same shit's happening in Japan, but we'll come to that in a minute. If they suppress the birth rate of the population who founded the country and import immigrants with high birth rates, First off, how is the government suppressing the birth rate? How is that? Where? What are they doing? Are they putting fluoride in the water? Are they like using satellites to beam shit into your mind so that you don't get a hard on? How? Nobody can explain to me how the government prevents you from fucking. Okay, because the last time I saw, teen birth rates are up. Okay, they're up because of fucking Republicans, and that's a different story. Republicans like getting rid of sex ed and shit. So how is it that like, what is the government doing? Are they putting pills, and secretly poisoning the chicken that you eat? Like, chemtrails, what is it that they're doing to prevent you from having sex, to prevent people from having sex, right? Because I think it has to do with wealth and education, but, I want to hear what you think, all right? Secondly, bringing in immigrants, the government is not forcing immigrants to come here. That's another bullshit conspiracy theory that you hear from right-wingers. This idea that, all the Mexican immigrants are coming here because Democrats are letting them in so that they'll come over the border and then, they'll vote Democrat. Which is complete and total fucking bullshit, okay? People come over the border into the United States because they're looking for work. There's a very, very small percentage of people that come here because they're refugees. They're fleeing some country that has been destroyed, usually by us, okay? By wars that we started or had a hand in. The vast majority of people come here because they need work. There's no work in Mexico. There's no work in Guatemala, right? The work that is there pays a shitty wage, I used to correspond with a guy on the Assembler game forums back in the day when I was, game collecting and shit. And I used to correspond with a guy who was a college professor in Mexico. Right, he made the equivalent of $700 a month. All right, I make 4 times that, more than that. I make more than 4 times that. Shit, how much do I make? I make 6 times that a month. That's ridiculous. This guy's a college professor, right? He's making such a small amount. Even at the time I worked, because this was like a decade ago. I worked at a Starbucks back then. I still made more than his ass per month, and this was like so there's no fucking work. And even the people who are college graduates that go off to universities and they become, things like college professors that would make a lot of money here in the States, even those guys, they don't make shit in, in south of the border, right? In Mexico, in Guatemala, in Colombia, right? So think about, if it was you and all the jobs were in Canada, and you were stuck down here and the only job you could get was, paid fucking 5 cents a day, right? What would you do, right? You'd be fucking like jumping the fence into Canada, right? Even if you were a college professor, and you'd be working in a restaurant because you'd make more there than you would at home. Okay, so don't tell me that you wouldn't, because you would. All right. So that's the thing, is that people are not coming to the United States so that they can take over, so that they can take over our political system, so that they can come and vote Democrat. That's another conspiracy theory called the Aslan conspiracy theory, that all the Mexican people are coming here so that they can just populate stolen lands that used to be Mexico, and then one day they're gonna secede from the Union and join Mexico. That's complete bullshit. See, all of these people just believe these ridiculous, wacky conspiracy theories that have no fucking truth to them. That's bullshit. They're not coming here to take over. They're not coming here to push you out. They're not coming here to kill you. They're coming here to fucking work. All right? To get jobs. Fuck. So let's continue on. All the while making us pay for it via welfare programs through taxation as our employment opportunities diminish and our wages stagnate. Where to start? White people take the majority of welfare in the country. Okay? Yes, they do. Look it up. The majority, something like 80% of all the welfare in the country goes to white people. You know why? Because white people are the majority of people in the country. Okay? That's a stereotype of the welfare queen, something that kind of got around in the Reagan years. There's very, very little truth to that, okay? In the inner cities, you see people on welfare. You know why? Because poor people live in cities, okay? But even then, the majority of people who are on welfare are not people of color. The majority of people on welfare are white, all right? That's Bullshit. There's no truth to that at all. You know, I could post some fucking stats if that's what it's gonna take. I can find some stats and I'll post them in the little thing. All right, but this whole thing, it's a racist dog whistle put out by Republicans so that you'll vote for him. All right, so that assholes like this fucking white supremacist piece of shit will vote for him, and then the guy will go and like cut his health care. All right, moving on to his next comment. In 17 states, more whites are dying than being born. Whites are no longer a majority, and the Democrats use minorities that all group together to vote against interests of whites. Okay, so we already talked about that, the 17 states thing. You know, it's zero population growth. That's not genocide. See, in order for it to be genocide, people have to be killed. Okay, that's what genocide means. Genocide means that people, you know, are being dragged off into the street and shot, or they're being put onto train cars and, like, you know, delivered to fucking ovens or whatever, right? And that shit isn't happening, right? People just not having sex and not getting married and not having children at a rate that replaces them by population is not the same fucking thing as genocide. That just simply fucking isn't, okay? You know, it's like, bullshit. You know, the way that this guy says, it's like, you know, like he even says it in here, you know, hint, it's not anyone with brown skin. They receive more than they pay in. That's bullshit too, all right? And if you're really concerned about that, then you should be working towards evening out the economic opportunities for people of color, right? If you want them to pay more taxes, then you should do things like work against, you know, discrimination, right? Discrimination in hiring, which is still a thing, and sexism in hiring, you know, minimum wage laws, stuff like that, to try to like elevate these people so that they pay more taxes. If that's really what concerns you, it's just bullshit to say that, you know, we're not being born fast enough, so we won't be. And secondly, what is this shit about being the minority, like, or majority? Like, that's something that Richard Spencer said in one of his speeches, that, you know, white people were the majority in the country, so we deserve to continue to be the majority, which is, how does that fucking work? You know, how do you deserve to continue being the majority in any place? You know, you don't, all right? Because if you did, then there's some Native Americans out there that would like to talk to you, okay? You know, like, here's another thing. Like, this kind of also links in with something that Richard Spencer said. He said in one of his speeches, which I'm actually thinking of making a video about this, basically that, you know, white people founded the country and we built this country, and, you know, so it essentially belongs to us. And it's like, that's complete and total fucking bullshit. The country doesn't belong to white people, just be, you know, not at all. It doesn't belong to any one race at all, okay? And people of other races did a lot to build this country as well. I mean, let's not forget about, you know, an entire subclass of people who are counted as 3/5 of a person that helped build the economy of the South, right? Number two, you know, like, and then in the 1880s and stuff, there wasn't enough, like, labor for the expansion westward, and we had to import people from China to build the railroads. I mean, there's a long history of people of other races contributing to the United States, to building the United States, whether that was at the barrel of a gun, you know, or behind like the crack of a whip or whatever, if it was of their own free will, you know. I mean, so that's bullshit to say that you know, white people belongs to white people. That's complete and total fucking crap. And it just kind of shows like this idea that, you know, people like this, people like Richard Spencer and like this guy Wicker Man, you know, first off, they don't think that somebody like me, you know, I'm of mixed race. You know, I'm actually I'm part white and part Filipino. To him, I'm kind of like a miscreant sort of mongrel, and, you know, I have no reason, or I don't deserve to exist, basically. You know, if it was left up to this guy, my grandmother probably would have been sterilized. You know, she had a debilitating disease where she couldn't work. She probably would have been sterilized or even killed, right? My mother and father, by law, wouldn't have been able to get together, and I never would have been born. Okay, so this is the kind of person that we're talking about here, right? And because of that, he thinks that I'm not a real American, right? I was born in this country, he was born in this country, right? He claims ancestorship going back, to the founders of this country. Well, you know what? Guess what, buddy? I do too, okay? On my mother's side, right, I have relatives that came over on the fucking, Mayflower, okay? Going all the way back. This is absolutely true. We have a Bible somewhere that has a family tree that goes back to, the 16th century and shit, okay? Showing that, immigrants from Holland and stuff in my family tree all the way back to before, the nation was founded. Okay, so you can't tell me that I don't have roots in this country. You can't tell me that I'm not part of this country. My ancestry is not part of this country's history. But I want to say one thing though. All of that shit is irrelevant. It's bullshit. It doesn't matter. Okay, it doesn't matter if I was born here. If I came in and my parents were first generation immigrants. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that if they were here a 15th generation immigrant. It doesn't fucking matter. What matters is that we're both born in the same country and we're both Americans, right? And we both have the same protection under the law. We both have the same rights, right? And you don't deserve anything more than me. I don't deserve anything more than you. And you claiming that I don't deserve to be called a citizen of this country just because of my race is complete horseshit. How do you respond to that? How do you respond to somebody that thinks this kind of thing? Besides a big fucking middle finger. I can't talk, this guy wants to go off and start his own fucking white ethnic state, in the upper, I'm assuming the Pacific Northwest, because that's where all these fuckers want to go, Montana and Washington and shit. Off in the fucking woods so that they can, drink their fucking moonshine and do whatever the fuck else, right? And kick out all the black people. How is he going to go about doing that? Okay, do you think let's say that they take over, Nazis take over the country, right? And do you think all the black people in the country are just going to voluntarily leave? Is that what it is? They're just going to self-deport like Mitt Romney was saying? No, they're not, okay? This is a guy who would forcibly evict people from their homes and kill them, all right? That's what this fucking dude wants. So, it's let's just keep this in perspective here, because there's people are marring this issue and they're confusing it with free speech. It is free speech to an extent. But this is what this guy's advocating, right? He needs to be stopped. Okay? These ideas are dangerous. They need to be, shouted down at every opportunity. They need to be countered at every opportunity. There should always be somebody like me here to counter this guy whenever he goes out and talks in a public space to try to talk to people and convince people, right? Because ideas like his can't go unchallenged, because if they were implemented, it would destroy the country and lead to the deaths of untold millions of people. And so that's just, it just kind of blows me away that we're talking about this kind of shit in the modern day and age. It's this guy is I don't know, it just blows me the fuck away that people would even entertain this shit, and that we've sunk so low in such a short period of time that we have to deal with these fucking crazy people. I guess. It's frustrating. I don't know. Angry rant over. Adios, folks.